Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Bronwyn from Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. She goes with the rest of my set. For this pattern you're going to need some skin tone bands, a couple of red bands, brown, white. You'll also want to have on hand a hook and holding hook, your loom in the offset configuration, a couple C-clips, some brown bands or beads, or you can use black. I'm going to use black this time, I think. And if you've got smaller ones, I would suggest a piece of dental floss to thread them on. I'll help you with that a little bit later. Okay, so we are going to start with the arms, and we're going to be using a couple skin tone bands to start. Take 2, put them on your hook, wrap 1, 2, 3 times. And we're going to pull this onto grab a red band as well. Wrap it on the end of your hook 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 3 times. Now we're going to take 2 white bands, pull it through our wrapped bands, and replace. And this will go on to 6 more sets of double white bands. Okay, now go to the bottom and you're going to take that red band. We're going to separate it and pull 2 of the loops over the skin tone and onto the other side of it. So there's 1, and hold on, there's 1. This one wants to slip underneath, and 2. We're going to pull them over the wrapped skin tone bands. I'm not sure why this is so difficult here. Went really smoothly in my first run. So what we're doing here is we're creating the little wrist piece, and this idea is one I got from Looming with Cheryl's Ninja Turtles. This is similar to what she did with the arm pieces. Okay, second arm, we'll go a little more smoothly, I hope. 2 skin tone, wrapped 1, 2, 3 times. A single red, wrapped 1, 2, 3, or 4. And onto 2 whites. Actually, we'll try this a little differently. Let's see if we can't move these red pieces over first. I think that should work. Well, I know it should work. I just don't know if it'll be easier or harder. But let's try it. So I pulled 2 sides of the red over, and then we're going to try and transfer it in this order. And that's where it gets a little trickier, but either way it will give you this, should give you the same result. Okay, there we go. And then onto 6 more sets of double white. Can adjust a little more once we get that on. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to adjust that wrist part just a little bit here. Make sure that the red is going over and to the side of the skin tone. And there we go. Okay, let's come to the loom. We'll make the legs when we're closer to putting them on. We're starting with 1 set of double skin tone bands from the top center to the second peg down in the center. And then we're going to come down with double white bands from the second center to the second right. 2 white bands from the second center to the second left. And on each of our rows we're going to go down until we reach the second last peg from the bottom. So that's going to be a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sets of double white bands coming down each row. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we'll fill up the other rows straight to until they correspond with that one, until they line up there. The middle one's going to be staggered up just a little bit because the loom is offset here. But on each of these rows coming down, we're going to have 10 sets of double bands. That's the idea. Now I'll just mention here, I kept my Bronwyn kind of skinny. If you want her to be a little broader, you can add extensions onto the sides. To do that, you would make a double chain the length of the pegs going up, and then attach it at the top, attach it at the bottom, and pull a bit of each chain, like just a piece of each chain over the pegs. But the reason I didn't do it, and that I wouldn't recommend it, is you're gonna get your Bronwyn's gonna be quite a lot bigger on either side. And I mean, she's not really a broad character, like a wide character, but the dress is sort of flowy, so if you did want to make parts of it wider, that's kind of how you would go about it. Almost done here. And last set there. So we left the last pegs at the bottom empty and the rest are filled up. You can place your arms now onto the second pegs down on either side to transfer the bands off. It doesn't matter which goes on which side because there's really no curling going on here, so you don't have to worry about them bending. They're pretty straight. We're going to do our holding bands in just a second. Now we can do our holding bands first. Okay, single white band. Don't stretch it, don't twist it, just take it and pull it across your third pegs down to form a triangle. And we'll repeat that for each set below. So this is the third one we're doing, fourth, oops, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Hold on a second about the last one. We're going to make some legs to add there. Okay, let's do our feet and our legs using all white here. Take 2 white bands, wrap them on your hook. 1, 2, 3. Pull it onto 2 white bands. Take a single white, stretch it, twist it, double it over. I'll show you that slowly. Stretch, twist, back onto itself, pull it through, and this will go onto 6 sets of double white bands. So that's 2 together each time. Oops. I didn't quite get both of those things. 1, 2 sets, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we're going to do the other leg in exactly the same way. The reason I did the doubled over band here incidentally is so that you can fold the foot up a little bit. It makes it look like a really cute little shoe. Okay, other leg, 2 bands, wrapped 1, 2, 3 times, pulled onto 2 bands. This is all white. Hold on to a doubled over single, stretch, twist back onto itself and through, onto 6 more double white bands. Or sets of double, double bands. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Take 2 white bands, put them on the end of your hook, and we're going to pull both legs on top of that and then place it across from the bottom on one side to the bottom on the other. This is the second peg from the bottom, or your, I think it's the 11th peg down. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that's basically where you laid your last bands. We're going to separate the legs, pull the bands that they are on over the center peg that sits in the middle there. Okay. We need to take a red band and stretch it across from one shoulder over the arm, or under the arm even is better. I'm gonna just stretch it over across to the second peg down on the other side, and again I'm placing it under the arm. And we are ready to loop up the body. We're gonna be adding this part at the very end. I haven't forgotten, it's coming on later. Okay, come down to the bottom side, and we're gonna get the bottom 2 bands, which are coming from the peg above. So open part of your hook faces up, push back the bands with the legs, grab your bottom 2, up, forward. Push back your holding band, grab the bottom 2, up and forward, and continue until you reach your arms. Feel free at any point to pause or jump ahead if you find yourself looping at a different speed than me. Okay, go under, and under the red, push it back. We want the bottom 2 bands, which are white, and they're coming from the center second peg, and we're going to bring those back up to the second center peg. Go down to the opposite side and loop up from the second peg from the bottom. We're copying what we just did on the left, or the close side, doing it on the far side. Loop it up to the arms. You can turn your loom to a different angle if it makes it easier to grab or to see. When you get to the arms, we're reaching in again under everything to get the bottom 2. Bring those to the second center. Go back to the bottom, reach under the leg piece, grab your bottom 2 and bring them forward. Loop straight up till you get to the third peg from the top. And if you find things are getting a little bit tight, you can start loosening up the bands from the bottommost pegs, the ones that have been secured in already. Okay, one more here. Now this part's just a tiny bit tricky, so I think I'll try and make this easier for you. What we're going to do is grab the red band, pull it under the third band down, third peg down, reach inside, get the bottom 2 white and loop those forward, and then you can release the reds. Loop into the second peg down in the middle, find the bottom 2 bands, and bring them, I just want to make sure I've got the right one, so I'm pulling them out to the side to get a better grip and view. Bring those up and over and onto the top center peg. Okay, ease off some of the tension, but don't lose the, hold on to the bands on your top center peg. Our dress is almost done. Like I said, we got some finishing touches to do later. When you're ready, you can put your hook through the 4 loops on the top center peg. Collect those and release the rest. There we go. Now the side where the red is showing is going to be the front, and when we place this on the loom, we're going to be putting it on front or face down. So what we're going to need to do is take the hook carefully out. If you want, you can use 2 hooks instead, and turn this around and come back from the opposite side, so that now that red part is facing away from you. Okay, let's come to the loom, and we're going to be making some curls here. So let me consult my picture, and we're going to be using a lot of brown bands. That's okay. You know what, I want to put this on a different hook because I want to keep my little hook handy. Okay, so we are going to take a single brown band, wrap it once or twice onto the hook. Now I can't remember, I think I just did 1 wrap for this part. So just wrap it 1 time onto the hook. You'll have 2 loops. Keep it there, repeat, and a third time, repeat. So you have 3 bands that are each looped once. We're going to compress them together and bring them together onto 2 bands. And these bands are going to go from the top center peg to the top right peg. Okay, let's repeat this and come down to the other side. So a single wrapped once, a single wrapped once, a single wrapped once. Hold on to 2 brown bands. And it will go from the top center to the top left. We've got to do this a couple more times because we're going to come down each of the rows from the top peg to the second peg down, and we're going to do the same thing on each of those. Single brown, wrap it, single brown, wrap it, and single brown, wrap it. You can see I'm kind of pinching the top so they don't jump off, and pull those all onto 2 bands. Lay it down, top peg to the second peg, repeat, single wrapped once, single wrapped twice, single wrapped again, and I don't mean it was wrapped twice, I mean it's a second single wrapped. Confusing myself with all my words here. Pull it onto 2, place it on this other side coming down. We're going to do this one last time for the middle section. Single wrapped once, another single wrapped once, another single wrapped once, and onto 2. If you want the curls to be a little bit tighter, you could wrap them a third time, but this is nice. It makes it really easy to work with, and it gives them a little bit of movement and body. We are going to switch to skin tone now and come down 3 times in the center with double skin tone bands. And then 2 times down on either side with double skin tone bands. So let me put this down and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, from either side, fourth peg down on the side to the 5th peg down in the center, double skin tone bands. I have to tell you, I really like the way these curls came out, and the end result actually made me think a little bit of Annie from the musical. So if anyone feels like playing around with it and giving that a go, let me know how that works out for you. Okay, we're going to do a couple of holding bands. So let's take a single skin tone, stretch, twist, double it over, bring it across your second pegs down into a triangle formation. Do it again on the 4th pegs down. Okay, now for your eyes, which we'll do next, I would suggest a slightly different shade of brown or black than what you've used for your hair so it doesn't blend in. And if you have beads, they will work better than bands because, again, if you've got a big brown band, it's going to kind of blend. So I'm going to use a couple of small black beads this time. They'll be really easy for you to see. And I'm going to grab a piece of dental floss, or you can use a wire or needle and thread. We run it through both of the beads because my beads have small holes, and if they had larger ones, I could put them directly onto my hook to transfer. This is where it gets just a little bit hard because I'm going to double over a skin tone. Now you don't have to double this one over, or you can put a doubled over one and then place this on a single, not doubled over one, but I wanted to keep the face really tight here. I'm going to put my floss under, and then it's going to go back over and back through, and I'm trying to keep that loop secure there. It goes back through the beads from the opposite direction from which it came. There we go. If you're having a really hard time with this, you can put it on the loom or on a couple of different hooks and just play around with it a little bit. So I'm going to slide this on part way and keep the floss there. And then once it's on, I can take one side, put it on the 3rd peg down, and stretch the other side onto the 3rd peg down on the other side of the loom. And, oh, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Maybe I'll use my hook for this part. It's probably not a bad idea now that it's secured on the other side. There we go. Okay, and then we can take the floss right out. Get your hook between the eyes, and again I'll say if you're really having a hard time, just double this one over, put it over the center third as you did with the second and fourth sets of pegs, and then you can use a single band to put your eyes on, and we're going to separate and place part of that band over the third peg down so that the eyes don't bunch together. Okay, we can add the body in a minute, but I think we will make our hair extensions first. I'm sorry, these are a little bit funny looking, but as I said, they worked out to a nice effect. Okay, for the hair, you're going to take a single band, wrap it twice, put it onto 2 bands, replace, take a single, wrap it on the end once or twice, take 2 bands, pull it through everything that's on your hook, and replace. What we're doing is we're creating a little side curl as we go. Take another single, wrap it on the end 1 or 2 times, take 2 bands, put them on the end, slide over your wrapped band and slide over your first piece and replace. And we're going to do this one more time. A single, wrap it on the end once and twice. Again, if you wrap it only once, you'll get a looser curl. This makes it a little tighter but not too tight. Pull all of this onto 2 bands. And let me just double check my pattern. I think this goes onto, yeah. This gets separated actually. So we're going to take the first 2 loops and put them onto the top side peg, and the next 2 will go onto the second peg down. So I've separated it there and I've stretched it from the top peg to the second peg down. We're going to get look at the end, and there are 3 little loops there. I want you to go through the 2 closest to the body, stretch those down onto the 4th peg down on the side, and then just grab 1 piece out of the next part of the chain. It doesn't matter terribly much which, and pull that onto the 3rd peg down. We'll do an extension for the other side and then add the body, and we can loop up and make our little collar piece. Single, wrap twice, pulled onto 2 bands. I'll go a little faster this time. Replace, single, wrap twice, pulled onto 2 bands, everything onto the 2 bands. Replace, single, wrapped twice, onto 2 bands, bring it all over, replace, and last time a single, wrapped once and twice onto 2 bands. Now you can see this is kind of angling out, so what we're going to have to do is make it so that it goes on this way, which means turning it around. Half those, one side goes onto the top peg and the other side goes onto the second peg down. Sorry, I'm going to have to turn it this way. Get inside the loops on the bottom of that chain, pull them down onto your 4th peg down. Kind of awkward from this angle, and take 1 piece out of the next section up to pull over your 3rd peg. Now your body's going to go onto the 5th peg down in the center, and we want to make sure that we're looking at the back when we place it, so it is facing away from us, and that way we'll get that red bar showing across the front when we do it. If you need to, you can stretch this out onto another peg. I don't want to stretch my bands out too much, so I'm just going to kind of hold it here. We're going to reach inside and find the top 2 bands, bring them up and over to the left, the side closest to you. The next 2 will go to the right. The next ones are going to go up, and then you can loop up on each, any, and all of the rows, watching out for the bands with the eyes, and your triangle bands and your extension bands. So come down in this, I just looped up the center there. We're going to come down in the side, push back all but the bottom 2. Grab them, bring them forward onto the next peg. Again, push back all but the bottom 2. They're brown on the last time up, and get the bottom 2 from the top side, bring it onto the top center. Loop up the other side, push back everything but your bottom two. Turn it to the side if you need to. Bottom two brown on the last side one up, and go inside for the bottom two. You get 1 or 2 brown bands. I'm just going to use 1, but if you want to, it will make it a little extra secure. And you're going to take your hook, point the open part away from you, press through the bands on the top center peg. Make sure you get through all of them. Grab that band, pull it up and through, so I'm keeping some tension on it here. Put the other side on and pull one side over the other and over the top of the hook to create a slip knot. Hold on to that or put it on your hook, and let's remove this baby from the loom. If you see any loose bands, be sure to grab them right away so that you can secure them in or correct the problem. I see a couple of mine are kind of loose here, they're just sort of stretched out. So let's turn this. This was the front. So I'm going to turn it to the back, go under, oh no, this is the front. This is good, that's where I wanted it to be. Okay, push your eyes through, turn to the back, go under a couple of nearby bands and bring your securing band through. This can go onto a C-clip. And as I said, I've got a couple of bands here that are a little loose, so what I'm going to do is pull them tight at the back. I'll go under another band, pull my looser one over the top of the hook, and I can do that a couple of times to tighten up the bands, and then that will go into the C-clip as well. Alright, so that's not too bad for looseness there. We're not going to do anything posing the arms. You can stretch out the dress a little bit. And the last thing is how to make our collar. So you'll need a couple of reds and another C-clip right away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my red bar across and go to the next junction underneath. So skip down in the chain once, put my hook through from the back to the front, take 2 reds, put them on the hook, pull them through, and for now I'm going to put them onto a C-clip on the back. So this is the back, they're sitting on a C-clip, and what we're going to be doing is stretching them up. Okay, so let's go through from the back to the front into the back part of the top chain on the shoulders. Grab one of the red bands and pull it through, and from here you can take a band of white or red or any other color, pull it through that, and we're just gonna hold that for a minute. You can put it on a C-clip or a hook if you want. I'm just gonna stick it onto a hook, I think. It's just to hold it for a minute here. Go to the other side, come through the top of the shoulder at the back, grab your other red and pull it back through, and this is going to go onto that same white band, which is why I kept it there. So I'm taking it off of my hook, I'm going to pull it through the red, put them together, and this can go onto the same C-clip or a different C-clip. I'm gonna weave it down a little bit. So under a nearby band, pull the first one over the second, and now it should comfortably stretch to that C-clip. We have one very last thing to do, and I've got about 40 seconds left on this video, so I might actually have to pause this, upload them separately, and connect, which is a pain. But let's give this a try. Single red, bottom of your hook, loop it over the bottom 2 pegs, twist, bring it around, and we're going to twist it again, like so. Grab the bottom part and bring it over, bottom part, bring it over, take it off carefully. This you're going to have to tighten a little, but what you want to do now is get your hook into the knot without getting it too loose, and we're going to be pulling that through. So let's go through from the back to the front, right where this piece ended. And you know what? Video's almost out of time. I'll be right back. Sorry guys, the camera did cut out on me there, so let's try this again. We are going to come through the back, from the back to the front. Try and grab it in the same place that you put your reds for the bottom of the collar. take your bow and pinch the two loopy ends together, so you just have that knot in the middle there. And you're going to get your hook into the knot. So like I said, it can be a little bit tricky. It's okay if it loosens it a little, because we're going to tighten it once more right away. Just make sure we're not inside the loop. Okay. And you're going to pull this to the back, and the part that's on the hook is going to go onto your C-clip. Keep pinching those sides though. Onto the C-clip on the back, and on the front side you can pinch and pull and tighten and straighten your bow. And now your Bronwyn is complete. So you can check out the rest of my Miss Peregrine's videos, and if you haven't seen the movie, be sure to check it out. It's a pretty cool story. Okay, thank you for watching.